All right. Recap Monday.
You see, Maria, the what I'm missing in production values.
I didn't even do anything. I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, that was impressive. I like it.
I got an intro queuing up, though. I got an intro for each one of the shows for you coming up. It's going to intro. It's going to be fantastic. Just hang tight. Hang tight. I went from doing a couple of shows a week to doing like 9,000. So
I know. I threw a lot at you, but I can tell you this, Dave. That's all anyone talked about at the game. So
what? Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. I had Bev Sims come up to me at the game.
Bev
Sims, yes. Bev Sims came to our little tailgate, and she gave me $100.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, she's like, I love your show. Keep it going. So thank you, Bev.
Are you on NIL now?
I might be on NIL now. Yes, I might be on NIL for sure. But yeah, so it was great. It was great. It was a great experience. They filled the stadium more than they ever have. It just was a brutal game. Just say that. Let's cue up the most exciting part, though. What's the most exciting part? You won. Yeah, I know you won.
No, we won. No, I'm not. Oh, you mean although our Price is Right thing, I guess if you're over, does it count? Like both of us were way. I mean, you predicted like 7,000 points to 2, so that wasn't true, right?
Right.
And
now
I predicted. What did I say? I had a pretty good margin too. I thought. Like 30.
Yeah, we were all in the 40s. We all.
I was 38-21, and you were like 58.
I was 48-10. No. Yeah, I was 48-10. I was way off.
You got excited a little quick. So we have a great guest on today.
The best,
legendary UConn basketball player, now head coach. So head coach, can we officially say it, Coach?
Oh, it's official.
It's official.
I'm here in my office right now.
Head coach of Western Con. She's going to be going. If she disappears, it's because she's going to actually go coach. Yeah. But head coach of Western Connecticut, but obviously NCAA champion. One of the greatest players, in my opinion, in UConn history, Maria Conlon. Maria, it's great having you on the show talking football. Can you believe that?
She loves football.
I love football. And I think you're generous with that comment. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a heck of a last play this weekend, huh?
Unbelievable. Yeah. I'm gonna cue it up. It probably gave Steve Cully, took it probably 5 years off his life.
I wasn't. Burton was going nuts. Burton was ready to. He run out on the field. But
well, yeah. why don't you tell Maria why you were right next to Burton? Where did you have the luxury of being?
I was in the best. I had the best seats in the house in the Burton press box. Thank you, Mike Burton, for giving me the experience of a lifetime. Sitting at the 50-yard line, right in front of everything, and the best food, the best drink. I felt like a king. I see how I get to see how the other half lives for once. It was nice. It was a nice experience.
Maybe one day you'll be the other half. You know?
Yeah. That's what Sean's gonna do. Sean Rabinowitz, when he makes my money.
Can you please pump Procyon Partners before we go any further? Go ahead.
Procyon Partners. He's the best. He's the best. Employee benefits, wealth management, retirement planning. He does it all, and he's a proud supporter of Husky Talk and Husky Huddle. Can't do anything without him.
You gotta love Steve, how he stays on cue no matter what it is. You know what I mean?
He's very good at that. He finds a way to just throw that in there. You know, it's a perfect seamless transition.
That's why I'm the best in the universe.
Right? Does it say below? Everybody's so small when I put on the longer view. You know, the one for all the people that watch it on their phones. But we will play. This end of the game.
I thought this was a terrible decision by them. I thought they should have kicked a field goal because our offense was abysmal. and they should have taken it into overtime. But you're 1-4. You're on the road. What the hell? You're on the 1 yard line. You figure you can punch it, and I think
this game was for their probably for their jobs, to be honest. So
yeah.
If they had won that game, they might have been safe for a little. But in the end, the Temple guys, Drayton and company, are going to be on a major hot seat. But let's play it and see.
Everyone on their feet at Pratt & Whitney Stadium. The push, the ball comes out.
Wow.
UConn gets the stop. They're going to run it back the entire way. The Huskies close this one out. Much Jordan Wright with the touchdown. UConn wins the game.
And Phil Hunt was next to Benedict on the goal line while this was happening. And he said during the timeout, he said, stranger things have happened. I bet you they're going to screw it up. And he filmed it on his phone. He filmed the whole thing.
Phil did or Benedict?
Phil did. He told me afterwards. Yeah. He just felt it. Yes. And
I still can't figure out. I still can't figure out where the ball actually came out.
The quarterback went the wrong way? First of all, I think he went the wrong way.
Snap? Did he drop?
No,
the snap?
I thought he got the snap. I thought he got the snap initially.
Everyone on their feet at
Pratt to go forward, and somebody popped it out.
Whitney Stadium. Yep.
When they showed the replay, it looked like somebody popped it out.
Okay, from the one angle.
The push, the ball comes out.
Wow.
I gotta watch it one more time. Fantastic.
Run it back the entire way. The Huskies close this one out. Much Jordan Wright with the touchdown. UConn.
But they had some tough injuries that game as well.
Okay.
And
really?
Yeah, they had Cam went down, the running back, Cam Edwards. Skylar Bell went down for a while. They got him back out there. And then their good linebacker, Jaden, went down. So I don't know what his status is going to be. That is the only thing that's
talk to
concerning.
me about what was going on for most of the game, because they really struggled offensively. And I
can tell you exactly what's going on. And I hated it because I can't turn coaching mode off. You don't have a running quarterback, and you're running all your stuff out of the gun, and you can't read anyone. And they're trying to read someone. When he pulls the ball, he's slower than whale shit. Like he can't get anywhere. So Temple was smart. Temple was just playing man coverage. They were playing 3-over-3 to all their trip sets, and they were going to make Joe beat him with the passing game. So they had an extra guy in the box for the run. They actually had two guys in. Both safeties were down, and everyone played the run. And their only run, they really just run. It's that mid zone, which I don't like. It's not true.
The stretch where you read if the guy comes up high, you cut underneath, right?
It's not true outside zone. Outside zone is
it's the mid zone where he's attacking like the BC gap.
The mid zone is where you're attacking the outside hip of the tackle. And outside zone is 1-by-1 outside of the tight end. But I don't like it out of the gun because you actually turn perpendicular.
Yeah.
I don't like when the back does that. And then he's got to stick a foot and go north. But Maria, did you watch the whole game?
So I had such a crazy Saturday. My daughter had 3 games at the casino.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And you had the wedding.
Yeah. So I watched some of it. I had to drive from the casino to Wolcott for a wedding. So I watched some of it on my phone. I did get to see the last play, right before I was going into the ceremony. I was hanging out in the parking lot, waiting, and I'm getting flagged in. But it was just unbelievable. It was fun to see because it went crazy there, and it was reminiscent of the back in the day when the rent used to be it's not called Rensselaer Field anymore, right? It's Pratt & Whitney now.
Whitney. Well, it's Rensselaer Field at Pratt Whitney Stadium.
It's a mouthful, but
Yeah, a lot.
I just like to see it electric because, I mean, like, what else are people in Connecticut doing on a Saturday afternoon? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, it's a night, and it was
It was perfect time.
perfect weather for a football game.
Yeah.
Perfect weather. So yeah, so I caught like the second half. I was trying not to like crash on 395 as I was, because some of it was very nauseating. So it would have been very easy for me to like veer off the road, but I did catch a bunch of it.
And it was a long game. It was like 4.5 hours because it was 3-and-out, punt, turnover. I mean, it was just a mess.
Yeah.
And that quarterback, clearly the other one's better. I hope Nick Evers is healthy after the bye week and can go, because Joe Figiano is limited, very limited.
You would have to. This then becomes the issue what we talked about maybe a couple of weeks ago with Mike, was when you're running, you have two quarterbacks that are different styles, right? Remember we were kind of debating like, is it better to have quarterbacks with different styles as your starter backup, or is it better to have it in the same style? And kind of I think my take was you're better off having guys in the same style, because if someone does go down or there is an injury, you don't have to kind of retool what you're doing, but you can do it. You know what I mean? You just have to really it's not your quarterback that has the issue. It's the O-line skill guys and the other players that have to adapt constantly to the differentiating system, right? So I don't think it's the quarterback that has as much the issue, because the quarterback does X. This quarterback comes in, he does this well. This quarterback comes in, he does this well. I think that's the mistake that sometimes people think, oh, I got to change this. No, when you're running two different kind of slightly different systems for different guys, it's the other guys around him that have to kind of adapt a little bit, right? And so I think that's definitely an issue. And then, if you have Pagano coming in and that's going to be the guy, I think that you should have, if you are going to adapt, you're going to have two different guys, then you should completely adapt your offense to that guy when he comes in. Like, what does Pagano really do well? We know he throws well, but they're going to play man-to-man and try and stop the box. I mean, that just makes
you could have put Maria could have thrown the ball better than he did. I mean, he has zero touch on anything. He missed probably 3 wide open throws. Like they should have won that game by 30. I mean, he just missed so many throws. He has no touch. And I just thought he fired missiles into everything. Like the interception, he fired a missile into someone. Like he no touch. I was getting infuriated with him. I wanted them to pull him. I would have pulled him.
And gone with the Frosh.
They said the third guy was hurt. I would have put the 6'7" kid in and just went with
Frosh,
it.
The freshman, 6'5", 6'7" kid.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have seen what he could do.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like, Maria, you saw the way he threw the ball. Like he just seemed they said he's better when he comes off the bench than when he starts, but he just looked like a disaster.
But like, I have to ask a question about that. Like, and this is me just throwing it out there, and obviously basketball is more my sport. Like, how is this kid a scholarship kid if he's never prepared to be a starter?
He came from the University of Maine as a graduate transfer, I guess. He had a year of eligibility. He got hurt last year, and then this is like his 7th year or 6th year. But yeah, he was an FCS quarterback, and they thought that he would be the guy, so they went with him. And he didn't play very well last year in the few games that he did play, and that's why they brought Evers in. But the running game was completely missing, because when your quarterback I mean, he couldn't even throw the short passes. He struggled just throwing the, hitches. He struggled to throw the bubble. He all over the place, just accuracy and just touch and just put some air under it. Let your guy make a play. You got receivers who can run and make plays. Just do that. It was very, very frustrating to watch. And thank God for their defense. Their defense.
Why did they run him? Like, why are they? Is it because that's what?
If you're a zone read offense, that's what you do. I mean, it's tough to adapt. You can't really run out of the shotgun unless you read somebody, unless you keep the tight end backside to cut off the backside end. Then you have to run to the open end tackle. That's the only way you can really do it. And they didn't do a lot of that. They kept trying to run the outside zone or the mid zone, and everyone was just flying, and the back would try to stick a foot and cut and get what he could. But they had 99 yards rushing. It was their lowest output. Temple only had like 200 yards of total offense. Temple was even worse, but Temple had great field position. We were always backed up. But defensively, I was impressed. I was very impressed because I don't like that defense.
I think one of the I know, right? I think one of the things that you see with him, when he's out, when he comes off the bench versus when he's the starter, is that the other team doesn't prepare for him. So if he comes in,
you're exactly.
He's a change of pace, and when he's a change of pace from a guy who's a threat to run, it's very hard for a defense to adapt in game and be able to adjust him. But when they have a week to plan for him, you have a better opportunity. I mean, some of his decisions, some of the picks over the middle and the fumble when he ran the ball, those are kind of things that are like,
he had 3 turnovers.
Yeah, it's where he seems unfamiliar. It wasn't turnovers where a guy made a play. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
those turnovers happen, and a guy makes a play. You're in a 1-on-1 matchup down the sideline. Guy goes up, another guy gets it, makes a play. Those things happen, right? But when those are like forced errors, like in tennis, right? Like those errors that you go and make, those errors are an issue because it's decision making, it's understanding like level of awareness that a college starting quarterback has to, especially on a team that's obviously in the right direction, right? He's got to improve that part of it. He does have a laser arm, like. I mean, any of those throws that he could just hose in there, I mean, it gets there in a hurry. The issue, I do think you're right, is that outside of the ones where he can just hose it in there, it's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I thought so too. Maria, you saw the defense. I think the defense has improved tremendously. I thought they've shown the most growth throughout the first 6 games. And I would also say, would you have expected 4-2 going into the bye week? I mean, that's
not after that first game. I mean, we talked about that weeks ago, and I had said to you, like, what happened? Like, UConn old school used to just be known for tenacious defense. Like, it was always really, really hard to score on us. And after watching that first game, I was like, whoa, like this is going to be a really long season. So I'm happy that they've turned it around. Obviously some of the teams that they've played against aren't great, but it doesn't really matter. Wins or win. They could have very easily lost Saturday. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I look at it like that. And the trajectory is up, which is good. If you can hold people from scoring a ton, hopefully you get lucky and you can get a couple in the end zone, or you get some defensive stops with great position. So I thought all of those were really positive things.
And that's exactly what they did, because they got turnovers and really good field position, and the defense held at least to a field goal. The one field goal the guy kicked was like a 60-yarder, and then he missed another one. But they were putting awful awful situations, and they always held up, which
Yeah.
was good. Which was good to see.
Cully, on a completely different note, there's a couple of Cullyisms that are fantastic. I don't know if a couple of people have pointed it out to me, and I got to point it out to you, and you're doing one of them right now, which everyone points to. I say there's nothing great. There's nothing more funny and great than when Cully, he doesn't vape. He pulls an old school cigarette out.
Did you roll that yourself?
No, it's a Newport. I'm the only white guy that smokes Newports. Yeah.
You're like my defensive my special teams coordinator when I was in high school, and he was my safeties coach, Mario Ali. And when he talked to me, he this is obviously 91 or 1990. He would go and he'd be like, "Dave, come here," and he'd wave me over. Now football practice is so fast paced, but the old days it just was slow. And because you'd be out there for 3 hours, nobody was in a hurry to go anywhere. And he'd pull me over and he'd be like, make sure you read the tight end. And then he'd take a long pull of his cigarette. And then he'd go, all right, go back in there. And that's how he would talk to me, too. I mean, I was like, we have all day long to pull. But that's what it reminds me of when you're out there, you're pulling in it. Pulling a cigarette. Is that a now, what are you smoking?
Newports.
I knew it.
I'm the only white guy smoking Newports, and they're going to be illegal in New York State soon. So I'm going to have to go to Mass and start buying cartons.
You might as well just take some tar and just ingest that as much as you can.
Yeah, we could do that too. We could do that
great,
too.
Great. But I had to tell you that. So you got Procyon Partners, obviously a fantastic sponsor. That's what I always wait for each day, and then I wait for the pull of the cigarette. That's what I wait for. That's when I know that the podcast is on its way.
Yes,
to being a great podcast.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, I digress, Maria. I do this often. I digress, which is what Steve loves, right? Banter.
Well, it's entertainment. It's entertainment.
It's pure entertainment. I can tell you that. So this is the thing I think from a UConn football standpoint, and you tell me what you think. We're at a point when we're upset about the fact that they could have lost, but got the job done in spectacular fashion and won the game. That to me is progress.
Huge
for us, because the last, I don't know, whatever amount of years, all we talk about is those were games we would lose over and over and over again. So we won one of those games. So to me, it's there's a lot of things that got to be fixed. There's a lot of things that aren't that have to be fixed, that aren't working the way I get the whole, your issues with the run game offense, and but I think the fact that we were able to win that game in that fashion, I think if you come out of there as a coach and a player, you're like, you know what? If we could win a game when we're playing as bad as we played and we still come out with a victory like that, then we've got a chance to be good. And then if they could fix some things, maybe, in the group of whatever it's called, group of 5, they have a chance to be one of the better teams. Obviously, a test is coming up soon in Wake Forest, so that's going to be definitely a test. But that's the thing that I was encouraged about. I was watching that game, and I was bits and pieces of it, and I kept thinking, I can't believe it's so close. But from what I was looking at, I was online, everyone was basically saying that UConn lost. I was like, and then I had to go look that night, later on in the night, and I was like, oh, we won. And I was like, how did we win? And winning in that fashion is enough. The tush push, by the way, I don't know, that fad, if you have the right guys, it's workable. But team, just like anything else, teams start to figure out what they got to do to stop that offense. And there are only certain guys that can run that sneak well. It's just like Tom Brady was, it was like, oh my God, Tom Brady, he was so slow, but he basically had a gazillion touchdowns and QB sneaks. he had a knack for doing the QB sneak. Jalen Hurts has a knack for getting in on that, and he's obviously incredibly strong too. He squats like 800 pounds or whatever. Getting in on that tush push with the right group. So I don't, when I see people try and run that tush push religiously, like, I don't know, just go find your biggest, heaviest 400-pound nose guard guy and get him dug in the middle, and then you have a chance to really stop that.
That's what they do. And I give 100% credit to the players and the coaches because they never gave up. They showed some grit. They showed toughness, and they had to have a goal line stand like that. And Phil Hunt said it best. He's like, that's probably one of the best endings to a game that they've ever had at Rentschler Field. And Maria knows this. Winning, once you get it going and you get some momentum, it's very, very difficult to stop. And I think if these guys have that mentality and believe in themselves now that they're winners, they're going to be a lot tougher the second half of the season, because now it's not like, oh, we're going to lose again when we get in these tough situations. Now they've been through that adversity and they know that they can overcome it. Because I know that winning cures all, but developing that mentality takes time. And Maria's been through that.
Yeah, I mean, winning's contagious, right? Like, nobody wants to be in a losing locker room. It's hard to show up and be motivated every week. So, especially the energy coming off of how they won the other day. I mean, I hope they come out and play great in the next game and just carry that over.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good that they have a week off, and it's good that they'll have a chance to heal and get some of their guys back. But at full strength, I mean, they really have a chance to win 8 games. I mean, people were getting mad in the tailgate because everyone was starting to say, oh, we're going to win 10 games. And it's like, don't jinx us, not so fast.
Right.
And then after watching the first half, I think the first half was like 9-6. It was just a brutal first half. And then the second half happened and it just took forever and ever. And if it had gone into overtime, I probably would have thrown myself out of the window, but it was so long. But I'm just happy that they came out of it with a win, and I hope they're not too banged up from it. But going forward, I think that this is something they can build on and look back on and be happy about.
What was the attendance at the game?
I believe it was right around 30.
I'm gonna look it up because I was curious what that was.
It was the largest they've had in quite a while, according to what they said.
Okay.
But Maria remembers, like, half the time we would stay out in the tailgate and not go in until halftime.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's how it always was, because it wasn't like it's that's a little bit of the Northeast thing too, which you have, like, I mean, I just know from living in New Jersey, like, I go to Rutgers games, and I'm in a hurry to go to a game, and I mean, there would be more people outside than there was inside, so for the first half, and then all of a sudden at halftime, basically people would wait to see if they're winning or losing before they came into the game.
It was great to see the buses, though. They had like 8 buses, so they're trying to get the kids there. Yeah,
good.
Yeah, they're trying to get the kids there. I mean, it's a long ride.
I mean, what else do they got to do after going to like nickel night for and although it's Friday, it's from Friday.
It was a 3:30 game.
It's not nickel night, right? What is Friday?
No. Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday is nickel night. And Huskies has moved now, apparently, which I didn't know.
You mean the bar?
Yeah.
Where is it now?
It's more downtown. There's like a downtown area. I went back to campus. I got lost. Completely.
Oh, the downtown area, which is where like Store 24 used to be. And
yeah,
that was one of my favorite places. Is Store 24 still there?
No.
No, it's everything's different.
Is Store
Everything's
24
different.
in business anymore? Or are they gone?
I think they're gone.
Gone.
They still have DP though.
Yes.
They do have DP Dough.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my favorite late night one.
Oh yeah, the Buffalo Zone was the best.
I just like the
Buffalo
cheeseburger
Zone,
too.
the
Yeah.
Danger Zone was my favorite.
But
So
what
good.
was the danger zone? What was that?
It was ground beef and hot sauce. Lots of hot sauce.
And and what would you like? The Buffalo Zone, Maria?
Buffalo Zone. It was buffalo chicken with blue cheese in it. It was just so good.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw Courtney Williams. Courtney Williams came and we drove over together. It was good to see Courtney.
Great guy.
Tyler came.
Tyler King came?
Yep.
Awesome.
Tyler was a lunatic. He was sweaty. He was pacing. He couldn't sit still. He ate everyone's food, drank everyone's beer, didn't bring a thing. It was awesome.
Dude, he was a huge hit on the Political Show.
I know he was. After I saw the numbers, yes, he was a huge hit.
He was a huge hit.
You put Tyler King in front of the camera, he's usually a hit one way or another. People just are curious about him.
He's great.
He's a caveman who hasn't evolved yet.
Yeah, but he has good insights, though.
He does. He does at times.
He has good insights.
He does at times.
I know you bust his chop because you guys are such good friends, but he actually has good insights. He has. He's
been hitting the head a few times, but other than that,
I would gather that. Sure. I mean, not only did he play football for a million years.
Well, yeah, the MMA.
Then he went to another sport where you get smacked around in the head, So MMA.
Maria, so have you had a chance? Did you meet with your team yet? Did you meet with your players
today? So I meet them for the first time today.
Okay.
We have our first practice. Practice officially starts for the NCAA on the 14th, so a week from today. But they do this thing now where you can have 8 practices, formal practices before the season starts, and you can use them however you want. So we're going to do that today. What I'm realizing is at the D3 level, I'm sitting here now and I'm multitasking because I have to work our practice schedule around these school schedules.
Oh yeah, they don't give you.
When I was in school, coach would say, listen, on Tuesdays and Thursdays we're practicing 1 to 4. You better be there. You had to work your schedule around that, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday we go later. Now it's probably a little different because they have their own facility. Back then we used to share Gamble with the boys, so we had to have it all set in stone. I mean, these kids have classes all over the place. I might have to practice at some nights 9 to 11 at night.
Oh my God.
In order to get a practice in. It's wild.
It's either that or you have to go in the morning, which is tough.
And a lot of them have 8 o'clock classes. So
you gotta go.
Yeah.
When am I going to go? 5 to 7?
Well, that's
really going to get high productivity from 5 to 7 in the morning. Probably not. So
I believe me, I know. That's what we did at Holy Cross. We went from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30, and then they would have the 8 o'clock class guys got to leave a little early.
Yeah.
And he thought that was best because it was the same thing. They don't give you class preferences, so you could make sure you were done by 2 o'clock.
Right.
And that's the fun of Division III or the academic schools.
Yep. So we'll figure it out. I'm hoping for next semester, now that I'm here, we can kind of get some semblance of a schedule. But I'm looking at this I'm going to be sleeping on the couch in my office some nights because I'm not driving home at 11 p.m. I just ordered a sleeper sofa when I saw the schedule. I said, I'm going to need a cot in here.
At least you don't have to raise millions of dollars in NIL. You know what I mean?
No.
That's the.
We still have to fundraise, but we don't have to. Not at the NIL levels for sure.
Right. That's.
But they're allowed to. They can get whatever they want.
They can. Yeah, and I think there are some things they do at some of. I can't remember where I saw something, but I guess technically you could do whatever you want now. So you can
get NIL in high school now.
Yep. New Jersey. I last week was that one of our things that we talked about, Steve? I don't remember, but Me,
They have
me and Steve
agents
are
who
on so
pay.
much now. It's like a blur, like who I talk to. But there's New Jersey. You could have NIL, and there's a player that I know of in New Jersey that is committed to Rutgers and gets basically a.
Oh, you
NIL.
told me that the
Yes.
housing.
Yep. He has a housing, so he's getting until he gets there. So I think that's one of those things that, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Texas doesn't allow it yet, but they will, and soon. I heard, and then but like Florida, I mean,
Oh, it's crazy.
well, they had NIL. Some of these places had NIL before there was NIL, but yeah, there are guys getting lots of money before they get to a campus, and gals, I'm sure too, and depending on their level. So it's that whole world has changed. I'm curious your thoughts a little bit on that. I mean, obviously it's different. D3 is not never going to be obviously like Division I from that standpoint, but it's definitely changed the game a lot. And I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but I'm curious what you think about it all. I don't see how until it gets there's some regulation that it can't just continue to go. It's going to get spiraled completely out of control.
It already is out of control. You see with the UNLV quarterback who left because of it. He didn't have he just had that verbal thing. He didn't have a written contract.
Were you gone by the time he got there, or how long ago were you there?
No, I was there during his recruitment. Yeah, okay. I mean, he's a great kid. He ended up being a great talent and took him to New Jersey, right? Or something? Yeah, he's from New Jersey. Yeah, he took him to the finals, and he had graduated early, and now he's redshirting. He's going to end up going somewhere else. But yeah, I think that would be a headache Maria would not want to have to deal with all the NIL stuff.
No, I mean, I think it's like, my friends and obviously my former coach.
Oh, I saw Morgan too, by the way.
I think it's changed the game a little bit because now these kids are looking for that. It's part of the recruiting process. So not only are you having to sell the program, the school, the academics, and the success of your program, you got to sell how much money am I going to be able to get you over the course of your 4 years. And what I think is really tough about UConn in specific is that we're not a football school yet. Right. So like a lot of that NIL money that comes in from these really big football schools is funding a lot of that. And we just don't have it. So I think they're relying, more on the men's and women's basketball team, but there's not going to be enough to go around. So if you're a kid, you got to decide, do I want to go maybe play for a not as well-known school or maybe not win a national championship, but I leave a millionaire? Or do I want to go have to, play for the right program, the right place for me and have an opportunity to win where, back in the day it was, okay, I can go here and score 30 points a game and never win. Or I could go here and maybe score 10, but win a national championship. So it's just a different conversation. And I think it's just going to make things harder. I do think that they need to have regulations. Like, I'm happy for the players that they leave and they've got money in their bank account. I think that's great. I always still just question, like, what are you playing for? Right? Like back then you played for the name on the jersey and your teammates and your coaches and your university. And now it's like, well, I got to play. I got to do this so that I get this NIL deal. And I think we're seeing it in the transfer portal. Like there's just not as much loyalty to your school. And that's why kids are jumping around like, oh, I made 100,000 here, but now the school is promising me I'm going to get 500. That's life-changing money. I mean, I can't say that I blame these kids for doing it, right? Like you leave college with 500 grand in your bank account, it changes your whole life. So, I see both sides of it. I don't love it, but it is what it is. It's just going to be a part of everything.
Yeah, it's not going back, unfortunately. And you're right, because the regular students leave owing money, taking out loans to pay for college. And at least kids get to leave with money in their pocket, which makes a huge difference, especially. Well,
I think it affects their experience. Like I'm watching some of these women's basketball players now, like instead of chilling with your homies on the weekends, going to Ted's or Huskies or whatever it is now, you know, they're off at fashion shows or they're going to film this commercial and that commercial. Like it's really become like it's a career in college versus the experience. Like, it's fun to experience all that stuff. Like, how do you make friends? How do you go to stuff if every single weekend you're tied up with NIL stuff? So it's different, you know.
And you're not there all summer. You're around all summer. I mean, that I agree with you. I agree with you. And it's different because not everyone is getting paid. So that's the other thing I always worry about is jealousy of the people who are getting paid and the guys who aren't. And that's what Mike said, that they made it clear that, hey, these are the guys, these are the ones who are getting paid. If you want to get paid, pick up your performance and we'll talk about it. And that's what, they'll sit down during the bye week and they'll discuss it and they'll see what they're going to do for next year to keep the players that they have and know what they need to go after the players that they're going to have to replace or who may be leaving. And they really do need a general manager.
And I think that you're right. It becomes, it becomes one of those things where from a standpoint of like their focus as to what they have to do and what they have to do on a daily basis becomes challenging for those athletes because they're young and their priorities can get mixed up pretty easily. And it's not that young people can't, but like, you look at an NBA or an NFL roster, obviously there are people that are paid a lot more than others that are understood, but you're still talking to me like that's what college was always for. It's that bridge, right? So now it's great that they're getting paid, but that bridge allows you to become an adult. And basically, I always say this, like one of the things about, I always liked in the NBA that they, instead of the one and done, I always liked that they could go to college, go right to the pros. I thought that was better, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I always thought that was better. There are guys that made mistakes. Absolutely, were not mature enough to go to the pros, went too early or didn't do well. But then there were guys like LeBron James, okay, that was ready to go to the pros, not just physically and everything else, but like he was ready to be a pro. Okay, Kobe Bryant was ready to be a pro. Those guys were ready to be a pro, and I thought, why should those guys go to college? Now, again, you do have mistakes. You do have people that come out. As long as they're able to go to college, if they decide that they're going to come out and they don't get drafted high, they can decide to go to college instead, which is what baseball does. Okay, that's what I think is a better way than having them go and just be one and done. They come in, and it becomes a situation where if you don't have all one and dones on your team, then you got an issue, right? Because that's what Kentucky went to for years. Basically, like, let's grab as many all one and dones as we can, so we don't have a continuity issue. But I think you got an issue with kind of stuff, that bridge of becoming mature. If you look at what happened in the Alabama game and Vanderbilt, I thought what was really interesting was in the Alabama game, Vanderbilt, the captain of their team, Malachi Moore. Did you see what he did where he had basically out and he was losing his mind and on the field because they were going to lose the game? And he starts kicking the ball. He comes over and the referee placed the ball down and he kicks the ball. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
He comes over and he just kicks the ball out. Crashing out, like losing his mind, like throwing his gloves, throwing everything on the field. And then he walks over to the referee, goes to place it for the last snap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For them to take a knee. And he comes over and he kicks the ball.
I would love that. That's great. Good for him.
Yeah. So you're
good for him being a jerk.
And then the second thing I thought was this. Well, that's your captain. I think you got an issue. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think, I think that's kind of the things where players are kind of they're not in charge, but they have a level of power that allows them to do things.
You're right.
You couldn't get the coaches are trying to get him off the field. You have to watch this. They're saying, come off the field now, like come off. Well, the coaches can't go and physically grab him.
Yeah, they'll get in trouble.
Nick Saban probably would have, in my opinion.
At that point,
would have gone over there and risked his career, and Gino probably would have done the same thing. Gone over there, risked his career, and just grab that player. You're coming off the field. But these guys are like halfway out there trying to get him off, and he's basically telling them, F you, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not coming off. They sent the player onto the field to take his place. He sent the player off the field.
Yeah, that's power.
He sent the player off. He sent them off the field.
I'm not coming off.
That's my one thing there. And the second thing I have, and I'm curious your thoughts. So I think the SEC and Maria probably has some real thoughts about this. Because she obviously played for Gino, you guys were a powerhouse, dominating forever. I think the money that football has in the SEC and the Big Ten has really, really helped their basketball programs because of NIL. They have so much money that now they can allocate more money to Alabama in basketball. They're one of my examples. Used to be terrible. They used to be terrible in basketball, and now they're one of the best programs. And I don't count South Carolina because they got a legendary coach, Dawn Staley, as their coach.
Right.
That's different, okay, because she's a legend, okay, that she's going to recruit players and figure out how to get money wherever she is, wherever she would be a coach. I don't count her because she's a legendary coach and player. But I do, when I see Alabama, like Alabama basketball and what they're able to do, and a lot of these places, I think that football money, and that's why football is important for UConn to get better and get into a conference. This is my whole thing on it, because in the long run, just like being in the AAC eventually affected UConn from a basketball standpoint, boys and girls, affected it a little bit, and going back to the Big East has helped us, right, to a certain extent. Not having enough money in the long run will affect us, because the SEC and the Big Ten is going to have endless money to give to those players if they really want to. So if a player's choosing UConn or Alabama, and let's say UConn has $1 million for a player, okay? Well, but that might be the cap, literally the cap they might have. This is what we really have. Alabama has endless cap, endless. Georgia has endless cap. Tennessee has endless cap. Texas, endless cap. Oklahoma, endless cap. Okay? They have endless amount of money. And I'm just, I didn't count Ohio State, probably has endless cap. Look what Ohio State spent on its football players this year, over $20 million.
I know.
So if anybody really, really wants to, if Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State turned around and said, you know what? We are going to do whatever it possibly takes in basketball, and that means paying whatever superstar we have can get to come here. They can change it, and that's ultimately in the long run. And we're taking steps there. Obviously we are, but ultimately that's why football, we have to get as good as we possibly can in football, because and we don't want basketball, which has obviously been a mega powerhouse. The university has somewhat been built on because of basketball. To suffer because of that.
I think it's spot on. I mean, that's why I said that before, is like, UConn's, they really have their backs up against the wall with their basketball programs, because, at some point, right, like Dan Hurley's still young. They'll keep him for a while, but like at some point, Gino's going to retire.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so when he retires, depending on who it is that takes over for him, that attraction power to come there is not going to be as big. You're going to need funds to be able to throw at some of these top kids, especially with the way women's sports is as popular as it is this year. You're going to need that. And to be able to compete with some of those SEC or Big Ten schools is just going to be really, really hard. It's just going to be an uphill battle. So I think with UConn, it's like, and this has been going on forever, like, we got to fix the football program. We got to get into a better league so that we can attract the top football players, so that we can at least be in the conversation. Because until we do that, I mean, that's what brings in the majority of the money. I hate to say it, but, we could sell out Gamble and the Civic Center all we want, but it's still not bringing in the dollars that all these other – and by the way, like, yeah, Alabama is good now. And the funny part is, they still don't sell out their basketball games.
Right.
That's me. I didn't know that. Right. But
You
they're
know what I
throwing
mean?
money around, right? But they're throwing money around.
I mean, even South Carolina, with as good as they are, they don't sell out every single game like we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, there's not
Right.
a wait list for season tickets like it is for us. You know, you look at Stanford, they're another one that's always predominantly been good for girls, but they don't sell out games. Tennessee doesn't sell out games anymore. It's so, but they have the funds and they have the money where they can say, all right, we don't necessarily need to.
It's a good point. Because South Carolina, right, no matter what football team they're playing, the South Carolina's getting 85,000 into their stadium every single game, right? And
Yep.
and that's not even counting the money that comes in from donations, selling jerseys. I mean, because every person in the state of South Carolina, they either wear a Clemson jersey or they wear a South Carolina jersey. And having spent a lot of time down there, that's exactly what it is. So you're right. Dawn Staley benefits from that, right? So even though she's a fantastic coach, she's benefiting directly from that big time money, and that is something that is going to be a challenge. And we're lucky that we have Gino Auriemma and Hurley as our coaches. Like, you can't get anybody better than the two people we have coaching the men's and women's program. Like, literally living legends. Not just the number of championships they won, but the way that they run their program. Like, it's like a master class on leadership every single, and it's funny because when I watch, one of my favorite things to send out all the time, and now Hurley has become one of my favorites. And obviously I'm a football guy first, but when I see the way that they teach things, like the clips I can find, and when Gino talks about things, and when and now when Hurley talks about things, like, it resonates to me as like leadership 101 in getting the best out of the people you work with, investing in your players. I'm not talking about financially. I mean, investing in them as people, right? And how they do it. And then also demanding, which is one of the things that is lacking. And you see, obviously you work with youth as well, right? Because you have children that play, and I have a son that plays sports, and so you see it. One of the things that's the hardest thing now because of parents is to be able to demand things out of the athletes. Parents are immediately like, "What are you doing?" It's like, no, we're demanding that they give everything they have. We're not demanding them to put themselves in harm's way. We're demanding them to give their best, right? And that's the thing that Gino and Hurley does. When I watch the way they talk about it too, not just obviously coaching wise they do, but when they talk about it, explain it. And I'll see, read the comments, and like people are like, "Oh, they're tough." I'm like, they're not even old school. They just teach leadership the right way. They're trying to get the best out of the players. If you're trying to get the best out of someone, you have to invest in them. And that's the thing that they do that makes them so incredible. And it's what's sustained long term through all the, the waves of things that happen in sports.
And
Well,
Maria,
I think Hurley is still, he's about as old school as you can find nowadays. I told Steve this story a while ago, but I went this past January, we went up for like a 20-year reunion thing. And I went over and watched Hurley's practice. And I can't say anything that he said during practice because you'd have to beep all of it out. But my favorite part was that he had the managers and a couple of the practice players were involved in this drill that he was doing, and they messed up. He made the managers and the practice players get on the baseline and run suicides on the baseline.
That's great.
Now you're a manager. You're sacrificing your time to like do the scoreboard or whatever, but you messed up something in the drill, and now you're running sprints. Like, he's just on a whole other level. I think what Gino's done really well is kind of evolved a little bit to this new generation. And so he's still really, really hard, and he has his non-negotiables, but he's definitely loosened up the reins from when I was there, for sure. Like, we go back and we're like, we never would have been able to do that or whatever. But, I think Hurley's just like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to demand the best out of you every single time you're in my presence. And I don't care if you like it or not, go play somewhere else. but he's definitely still old school. Maybe that's just a product of like his upbringing and the coaches that he had. But he's a maniac, which is exactly what they needed.
And Maria did it. I mean, Maria had incredible leadership when with the AAU program, she sat down with, you know, you were talking about parents. She sat down with the parents and explained the expectations and how people would play, because she didn't want to deal with the problems. She let them know right up front what the expectations were. The
parents right now are so brutal. I could talk for hours on just the unbelievable interactions that I've seen, heard, or been a part of with parents, where I'm like my parents, I'd be mortified if my parent ever reached out to like a coach or like a director. These parents, they text you at all hours, they email, they demand, and I'm like, your kid can't even dribble and chew gum at the same time. Let's start there, right? Like, let's start there.
I have a funny theory on this. Now I'm a little bit older than you guys. When I was coming up in sports, like a lot of kids had to go in high school, go get jobs. Like they really needed to go work, right? And there might have been some athletes in there, you know what I mean? But they had to work. They didn't take sports maybe as seriously if they played sports. And it was kind of the mentality was certainly different. But now sports is it's like everyone's fundamental right to play a sport. And you have a lot of people that are new into sports, and their kids might even be good. Their parents weren't athletes in college or anything. Sometimes their kids are good athletes, you know what I mean? But everybody plays sports, and almost nobody knows anything about actually, but they think they know everything, and they didn't have any success at all as an athlete themselves, but they see their kid who maybe is decent, you know what I mean? And they think that this kid they don't realize what college sports is. They have no clue what the level of commitment it is. And let's take pro completely out of that. But college alone, I'm not even talking Division I only. I'm talking just getting to college to play some level, right? They don't understand what the level of dedication and want to is and love for a sport that you have to have. They think just because Johnny or Jane likes it, that now they can make demands on every single thing. And it's a lot of times because they haven't played, they had no level of success at all themselves, or if they played in high school, and they somehow think that their kid is going to be some sort of pro athlete. It's a weird thing. It's like there's multiple steps in the process to get to that point, and you're going from step one to step 1,000 immediately. And that's what they do. It's crazy because you could spend money to get any trainer you want. You know, they could tell you whatever they want, you know, and you could do all these different things. And there's opportunities now that there never was for people unless you really had a certain level of gifts, right? And if you had a certain level of gifts athletically, you might have someone that was willing to invest time with you back in the day. But now everybody can go and get to some level because they can go get a trainer, and they feel like that all of a sudden now their kids at college. It's crazy. And that's my theory is that there's so many more people that are doing sports and they feel like sports is literally a right to them. It's not a privilege to play sports. It's a right.
Well, the other thing Maria does that I thought was really cool, she used to have all her players play another sport. They would play a fall sport because she didn't want them specializing like so many kids do in just one thing. They had to do something else. And I think that's really important too, because all these parents, they focus on one thing and this is all we're going to do. You may never know if they could be good or great at something else if you don't even try it. She had them. It was like mandatory that they played something else, right? It was a fall sport.
Yeah. Just because it's you know, muscle confusion, right? So trying to decrease injuries. But I think, like Dave, to your point, what we're seeing too is we have a lot of parents living vicariously through their kids. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it that way, but I was at the games on Saturday for my daughter, and I had someone come over, congratulate me on the new gig, and they're coaching their daughter from the sideline. I said, where? Because I just like to do this every once in a while. Like, where did you play in college? Well, I didn't play in college. I played freshman ball in high school, though. And in my head, I'm like, it's just not the same. And that's okay, right? Because there's some people that know a lot about a sport that were never good at the sport. So I'm not really all of that.
Mike Leach is like your person in football. Everyone thinks they're Mike Leach in football now.
That's hilarious.
But it's so true. And it's like, all right, relax a little bit. Like, this is what it's doing, is it's taking the fun out of youth sports for kids. And so now, instead of like just going and kind of like supporting your kid playing, you're screaming on the sideline, you're telling your kid to shoot it every time they touch it. Like, it's just so, I said the other day, I was there and I said, I hope like somehow, some way, I'm just not allowed to go to any of these anymore with my new job, because it's so unenjoyable for me as someone who knows the game so well to be. I actually, for one of the games, I went and sat on the bench because then I couldn't hear the parents. Like, I own the organization, so sometimes I'll do that anyways, just to support the coach. But this time I did it because I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I cannot stand over here and listen to this stuff anymore. It's mind-boggling.
And you know what the other part of it is, and this is, and Steve always says, by the way, he can never coach youth sports. Absolutely not, for multiple reasons. For Steve, it's probably more right because you just want to be telling a 9 or 10-year-old what to do. But
no, I swear too much. Yeah,
you swear too much. But one of the other things I thought about it too is this, right? So you have coaches like yourself or myself who are trying to do the right thing for the kids, right? But then you have your kid might go on a team with a guy who, like a kid who's clearly not good enough to be on that team or something. So it kind of makes this two-part world where sometimes they're right? Because they deal with some bad individual over there, but because there's no education in the whole process, like there's no way to say, like there's no weeding out of bad individuals and things. There's no like, I don't know. I feel like in the older days, I hate saying this because everyone just thinks, they'll comment and say that I'm old and then go watch your kids.
And your beard is
my beard. Well, not anymore because I shaved it, but my beard is distracting. It's because in the older days, like you just didn't like I think other parents were able to take care of other parents. Like shut the F up. This guy's a good coach. That won't happen now. Like it doesn't.
It's very rare. It's very, very rare. I had, last year for my prep school season, it was a lot. And, I always say the sign of a good coach is when you can hide your weaknesses, right? Like hide the team's weaknesses and put them in positions to show their strengths. I hate when coaches say, I only do this or I only do that. Like, what do you mean? You have different kids every season. That's impossible, right? But one parent is coaching them in the fall league this year because I left. And he texted me yesterday and he goes, now I understand why you did what you did. And he's like, I have a newfound like respect for everything that you're able to do because this is like unbelievable. He's like, between the parents and the kids and this. And I said, I told you last year, it's not an easy feat dealing, because now you don't just have to deal with X's and O's. You have to deal with social media. You have to deal with the emotional aspect of it. You have to deal with the parents. You have to deal with the administration. It's never ending. And Steve, I think you can coach youth sports. You could totally do that.
No, I could.
I think everybody should have to coach youth sports before they go on.
Maria she gave a speech to 7th and 8th graders, and she had her manuscript that's called Work Harder, which is harder. And I thought it was excellent. She sent it to me, and it really speaks about having values and treating people well and having respect for others, and having that kind of is like your mission statement, I think is a great way to go, and how you can send a message and get kids to buy in. I don't know how long it took her to put it together, but it was excellent. It was
Well,
excellently written.
The whole premise of it, like for you, Dave, that don't know, is that, again, speaking about these parents and these kids, not only do we have people living vicariously through their parents, we have parents forcing their kids to play sports that they don't like. So they're miserable out there, right? So the whole concept of work harder is to align yourself with what you really love doing. So if you don't love playing basketball, stop playing basketball. Like, and as a parent, stop making your kid play basketball if they don't love it. And I think there's just a lot of that right now, which is watering down a lot of programs because you have all these kids coming out and like you got 2 good kids stuck on a team with 4 mediocre kids and 3 bad kids because there's 60 teams per age group. And it's just really hard for people to develop and get better because you're constantly dealing with that.
Yeah, it's completely nonstop. And I mean, she ran the whole AAU program from the 16-year-olds down, and her daughter was on the 12-year-old team. And her daughter was one of the better players, probably the best player on the team. And that was even hard for her daughter being the best because she didn't want to hurt the other players' feelings.
It happens, it's all part of it.
Doubt. There's no doubt that's all part of it. It's hello? Did I lose you guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I got you.
Yeah, no, it's all part of it, man. It's
and you with your 8-year-old with the team you're coaching. Yeah. I mean, having to get the kids in for 10 plays, that's a project.
Yes, although everybody deals with it, but yeah, it's a project. It's definitely a project. It's interesting because there's some kids I'm just wondering why they're playing football, but
it's just you're a glorified babysitter.
Well, there are kids that are phenomenal players on the team,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
And then you have such a wide game. Football's weird in that like there's no rec and then travel, so like everybody's on the same team, and then you got kids that literally should play like a quote unquote rec, but it's travel. But I have to jump off.
All right, let me just mention because I talked to Peter Finch. He was interested in becoming a sponsor.
Okay,
I wanted to let him know what we would do. The Peter Finch law firm, it was founded by him in 2016. It has made an impact in the community and across the state of Connecticut for fighting for clients' rights and interests in some of the toughest legal battles in the state. He's based in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The Finch firm has argued cases in Connecticut Supreme Court and Superior Court. The Finch firm can help you if you're injured in an accident, arrested, or feel your rights have been violated. That is the Peter Finch law firm. So, Peter, that is what we would do. And we would give you a couple live reads and sponsorship mentions on our shows.
And you didn't do your regular finish, though. We're waiting for the regular finish, though.
The regular finish, of course, for our beautiful entrepreneurial and now college coach guest, Maria Conlon, also my co-host for Conversations with Cully and Conlon, Maria Conlon, and the coach himself, David Schuman, myself, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.